we're at the corner of Henry and President Street in Carroll Gardens. We're going to go across the street. We're going to visit my friend Michael Quinn, who is just like an all-around fabulous decorator and entertainer. And I have a surprise for him. I brought him pineapple upside-down cake. So he doesn't know I brought this, but I think it's a nice surprise. Hi, Michael.
Come on in.
I have a little surprise for you.
It's a wonderful surprise. Your world-famous pineapple upside-down cake.
famous.
I know it at a glance.
And we're at Michael Quinn's world-famous apartment that was featured in my book, The Find. And hopefully, we're going to get to see a different angle than we saw the first time. So, you want to show us around a little bit?
I would be happy to. I'd love to.
Before I eat this,
take this over here.
Upon entering Michael's Carroll Gardens apartment, one can't help but be delighted by the color and creativity abound. You probably remember Michael from The Find, the Housing Works book of decorating with thrift shop treasures, flea market objects, and vintage details. Within its pages, we showed you how Michael, along with his pal Heather Kerr, turned the place out for a vintage tailgate party. Michael's home is a unique example of decorating with personality. It's the kind of place that everywhere you look, there's an object that evokes a fond memory or has a unique story to tell. In fact, we barely got beyond the kitchen on this visit.
Michael, where did all these Mexican-looking hibiscus flowers come from?
Well, these are leftover relics from a Christmas party this year from Ron. Had brought them from his work, salvaged from the trash there. And these other ones up here are from a store called La Serena in the East Village, which is, I think, pretty much exclusively Mexican imports. And I had spent quite a lot of time there when I lived in the East Village, probably weekly visits, purchasing and procuring Mexican treasures to feed my collection. So that's pretty much where they came from.
Well, then we already commented that I feel like the much maligned curly ribbon. I see it hanging there and I love it.
Represented, championed. In fact, I have to say I kind of generally share the curly ribbon bias. You wouldn't find that on any present probably received from me, but they're part of a floral crepe paper wreath of flowers, and I feel like they're wonderful, and I can appreciate them here in this context.
I think it proves that there is a moment for everything.
Yes.
There's a moment for every ribbon.
Yes, I would agree and support that wholeheartedly. Absolutely.
Michael, the wonderful thing about your apartment is that everywhere you look, your eye focuses on a different detail. Now, you think you could show us around a little bit in your living room?
Of course, I'd be happy to.
All right,
please, lead the charge.
Let's go.
As we make our way into Michael's apartment, we don't get very far until we're stopped by a clever use of old dresser drawers hung on the wall.
How long did it take you to create this?
Well, when I lived on 2nd Street, I kind of had this started. I had sort of like a little shrine altar kind of area already established. That was like in the hallway of the apartment I shared with my then boyfriend at the time. And so coming here, it was very much about like where does that belong here? Like, how does that live in this space, you know? And I think it was very, like, psychologically, like, fracturing to kind of move it from one place to another and have it be like, well, where is it? Because it's always lived in one place and in one way, so it's like, how is it going to be here? And then he had found, those are two, I guess, like, dresser drawers, you know, and had hung them up, and then it was just sort of assembling. And it's like one of those things where you always add, you never take away.
Clearly, Michael follows that philosophy on the mantle just behind us.
You know, Michael, one of the coolest things about being in your apartment today is usually it's filled with 30 or 40 people, and we actually get to see the things that are in this apartment. And so many people comment on, well, I call it sort of a nativity scene, but there are all kinds of things happening back here. What do you call your gathering of objects?
Well, I would definitely say it is a nativity of sorts. It's inspired by a nativity that my grandparents had, my mother's parents had every Christmas, and their whole philosophy with the nativity was to always add, never take away. This is an unspoken philosophy, But every time there was a casualty, as the years will inevitably see, they would always replace a figure but never take away the one that was there. So there were, 15 Marys, 3 Josephs, 86 wise men, 2 camels, and I just sort of love this idea of kind of this appropriation of more figures every year. It felt very joyful and inclusionary and celebratory. So it was definitely inspired by their nativity. Most of the figures I think I gathered when I moved to this neighborhood. This is a very old Italian neighborhood. Lots of religious things to sort of be found in the thrift stores and on the streets and around there. In the center of it all are 2 St. Michael statues, which of course have special resonance for me. So they sort of preside over everything that's kind of happening. But it's pretty much that sort of spirit of all is welcome.
Who is the figure with the lighthouse?
That's actually Santa Barbara. That is who that one is. Yes.
Santa Barbara. She sounds like she must live in California.
I would imagine so.
There's simply so much to discover in Michael Quinn's apartment that you'll have to come back tomorrow for part 2 of Quinn-Essential. For more tips on decorating and entertaining with vintage and thrift, pick up my book, The Find, the Housing Works Book of Decorating, with thrift shop treasures, flea market objects, and vintage details. I'm Stan Williams, the Elegant Thrifter. Always frugal, always fabulous.